Right, g'day money miners, welcome to today's show, Tuesday 9th of May. Now, we've got a special guest today, a bit of news out this morning. Fortuna Silver have put in a bid to acquire CHZ Resources. Now, this will be on the extreme higher end of premiums. The deal is at a 95% premium to CHZ's last closing price. So you've got CHZ there focused on the standalone Diamba Sud gold project in Senegal. So they've got a mineral resource estimate of 13.9 million tonne at 1.7 grams for 762,000 ounces. And we've got the MD, the main man himself, Andrew Grove, on the line to take us through the deal. Andrew, welcome to Money of Mine. How are
Andrew,
you?
here's your chance to correct Matty's mispronunciation of the project. Did you get it right?
Diamba Sud?
You got pretty close. Diamba Sud, yeah.
Diamba Sud.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or Sud, depends how you pronunciate it.
I tried to pronounce something Swedish yesterday, so it was just as French isn't as good. Is it French?
Yeah, it's Francophone, Africa.
Very good, mate. Mate, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First pass from the rocket scientists we've got here with us, Travis and JD. The deal looks to be a cracker, mate. As I said, 95% premium. Take us through it a bit. Give us the initial scope.
Well, okay. Look, it's a scheme of arrangement between Fortuna and CHZ Resources. Fortuna will end up acquiring all the shares in CHZ with an exchange ratio of 0.0248. Obviously Fortuna is a much larger entity than CHZ. Our CHZ shareholders will end up with sort of circa 5.1% of the company. It was struck at a price using a 5-day weighted average on Fortuna stock and FX, and it was struck at about a 14.2 cents equivalent price for CHZ shares, which, as you said, was it's a 95% premium to our close. From now on, it sort of trades along with Fortuna, and hopefully there's some good support on the Fortuna market for this transaction. There's some other things that happen within the company. Board approved it unanimously, subject to the independent experts report and no other superior offer coming over the top. And the Fortuna has also provided a financial assistance in terms of a $3 million Aussie working capital facility, which is secured with some floating over the Australian assets. To help us on our liquidity through this sort of scheme period, which is sort of circa 90 to 100 days.
I did notice that $3 million bridge facility that they provided, and
yep.
And I guess it sort of speaks to the kind of funding dynamics at play for CHZ and the company, right? You running pretty light on cash, and it sort of flagged that the things were going to be evaluating the subsequent programs and looking for farm-in options, etc. And I'm curious, how does the sort of funding dynamics inform the actual transaction outcome here? Was that a big motivator to actually pursue this corporate transaction, Andrew?
Look, there's always, we're pre-development. So like all of us explorers and pre-development guys, we don't have a cash flow to support our activities, and we're reliant on the market. So we do look at all our options all the time. And, for us, it's, raising equity in a current market, which is very soft and doesn't love pre-development guys very much, particularly for gold in Africa. So you got to raise, if you're raising money on the market, it's at a discount and it's potentially quite dilutive to shareholders. You're looking at, there's other funding options that you're always looking for, but, fundamentally it's what will give the best return to our shareholders. And obviously a 95% premium and, the option to participate in the project going forward with Fortuna shares was the most attractive that's available at this point in time.
Well, Andrew, we do hope it all goes smoothly with you, but it's not good for our business if we're not getting extra deals and in the merger and acquisition space like we're doing with Silver Lake and Genesis and St Barbara at the moment. So, look, there's plenty of action that side. How long has the wheeling and dealing been going on in the background to get to this deal?
Look, it does take a long time to cement these deals, and you talk to people doing the marketing. You talk not only to investors but actually corporates. I guess we've been engaged with Fortuna on and off for 12 months, or will be 12 months by the time we complete this transaction. But look, doing M&A takes time, and not something you just rock up at somebody's door and do within 3 months. It takes a bit of dancing around and people looking under the skirts and seeing what interests them. And obviously, Fortuna's got a big balance sheet, so they've got a lot of opportunities to look at other projects, and they've decided that this one suits them best.
And why is that? Are they low strip ratio? So you've got 76% in the indicated category. Look, at a 95% premium, Fortuna see a lot of potential for low-cost mining and resource growth. Is that sort of where they're leaning?
Yeah. Look, I think Diamba Sud is a good project, and it's got a very low strip ratio. It's 4.2 to 1 on average. The resource is 860,000 ounces, and 760 of those go into open pits, 4 open pits. We've continued to find mineralisation on the tenement. We've put out some results recently at Casasoko. New discovery will add reasonable ounces to the mine plan, all of which the market ignores, but that's all right. So it's a modest scale, high value project that paybacks in 14, 15 months on gold price assumptions. But there's growth potential, and there's growth potential in their tenements and growth potential in the surrounding tenements. There's particularly a lot of growth potential in surrounding tenements. And Fortuna sees this as just an analogue to their Senegal project in Ivory Coast, which they've just finished building and expect to pour first gold this month. They acquired that project with a takeover of Roxgold, different market, because I think they spent 1.1 billion acquisition of Roxgold. They had a small underground gold mine in Burkina, and then they had this Senegal project in Ivory Coast, which they've managed to expand the resources, developed a modest scale project with circa 120,000 ounces a year, more low costs, with lots of exploration upside. So I think they see that as just another Senegal, and they've got the build ready team, and they've got the development team ready that they can roll it into this one.
Andrew, if we zoom out a bit and just bear in mind this unfavourable environment for juniors in particular in West Africa, do you think this leads to a bit of a wave of consolidation across the space?
Well, look, I think it has to. I think the juniors the pre-development guys who have real assets are trading at such steep discounts to the intrinsic value of the asset that the producers who are getting, they're getting full tilt for the gold price rally, got strong cash flows. It's hard to find gold, or any commodity. It's hard to find a project that's real and developable. So I think the producers will have to be looking at what opportunities around them. They could buy it almost as cheap as they can find it, and they haven't found too much either. So there's a whole lot of producers, I can speak for West Africa, that are looking to fill their pipeline of growth. And there's only a certain number of projects that sit out there that can be built into a mine, or has at this point been proven that they can be built into a mine.
Totally. I mean, we keep a keen eye on some of those players ourselves. I mean, OreCorp and Predictive sort of come to mind as clear targets that might stand out to some of those more established producers who are looking for a bit of an opportunity. I'm curious, Andrew, to talk a little bit about the deal itself. I mean, I at face value, I thought, wow, 95% premium in an environment where it looks tricky to get equity. So I would have thought, the acquirer probably has more leverage, and it looks like you guys have negotiated a really, really good premium, a great outcome for your shareholders. So, firstly, congrats for that. But I was just comping it just to see how that premium sort of fared and the price paid fared with sort of comparable transactions in the region in recent history. And even on an EV per resource ounce, sort of comped it with some peers, and YouTube viewers can see the chart. But the only more fully valued EV per resource ounce acquisitions from my comp set where the acquirer was actually buying a project that would feed an existing mill, and that isn't the case for you guys. So It seems to me to be like a pretty great value considering there's no immediate operational synergies from an infrastructure perspective.
No, I agree with that. Look, all the work we've done on comparable comps, it stacks up well or better than a lot of the things. And if you don't have to spend the capital, you're just buying ounces to put in your mill. You can afford to pay dollar per ounce a bit higher than you can with where you've got to sink the capital in. And really, Diamba Sud has to be a standalone opportunity. There's no plants or mills that are within trucking distance that would support just feeding that mill.
So if the rationale for Fortuna is not to feed a nearby mill, what to them? What's the attraction?
Oh, look, as I've been saying to everybody, look, our resource base is growing. We found again another deposit just to the south and of our other two or three main deposits. We put a hit out within our Karakara pit with circa, I think it's 70 metres at 2.6 grams per tonne. It's inside the pit and outside the resource shell. And again, share price didn't move. But, I think there's a lot of growth potential in the tenement. But if you step out within a sort of circa 15 kilometre radius, there's a lot of the smaller scale discoveries being found, particularly by Barrick, who are really actively exploring to the east of us. Their Bambachi JV. They've identified 15, 20 near surface mineralised hits. But what they haven't done to date is find the big Barrick scale project. So in my view is that sitting in the middle of a 3 to 5 million ounce camp, and you've got first mover advantage by having the mill there if Barrick don't find a 5 million ounce deposit. So it's going to be a longer term play.
When you guys were seeking farm-in type agreements, as flagged in your public disclosures, I imagine those conversations were trying to be pursued with Barrick. Do you have any view on what their strategy is in the area? Do you think they'll leave if they don't find something soon, or like what are they going to do?
Look, they've got it. They're obviously looking for a Barrick scale project. The tenement is within, or it's just across the border from Lulu-Gonkotto, which produces circa 500,000 ounces a year for Barrick. It's 20 k's north of Fekola, which is going to produce 1 million ounces a year for B2 Gold. And it's the same host rock, similar alteration systems, slightly different structural setting. So they're not giving up on that. But look, in history shows that if they don't find something their scale, they do sell it. So in Senegal, they sold Seguela to Teranga, which had the Sabodala mill and project, and that was subsequently acquired by Endeavour Mining. So they do have a history of selling projects that don't meet their hurdles. But it just, it's Barrick, so they've got lots. They're going to take their time and now testing the project. So we don't have any control over the timeline.
Andrew, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on various different countries across Africa, and in particular in West Africa, as you've got that experience there. We've seen Perseus move into Sudan, and then obviously the unfortunate situation with the civil war there. How do you assess countries such as Senegal, Guinea, Ivory Coast, all these countries? Have you sort of got a framework in your head, or are they all changing and you've just got to keep monitoring the situations?
Well, look, they do change, so you do have to keep monitoring. I spent a fair bit of time in West Africa, either in an operational sense, or I've spent a lot of time at Macquarie Bank doing mining finance, so we banked a lot of the projects throughout West Africa. And they all have their nuances. They do change somewhat. But, in my view, if you're looking at West Africa, Senegal and Ivory Coast are probably couple of better jurisdictions. But, you look at Ivory Coast, it has had its issues in history. And there is that influence of the terrorist activities through the Sahel that moves up and down and is creating sort of instability in some of the countries in the region. Look, you do have to assess it on case by case, and you do have to be aware that does change. So you've got to keep your eyes open. You've got to, once you're there, you're there. So you've got to just manage the situation the best you can with having good local content and good connections and being a good corporate citizen and helping looking after the local communities. So that's sort of the way we look at it. But some jurisdictions are challenging at the moment.
Yeah, so Andrew, what's your role going forward, mate? If this deal goes through, you're hoping it will, I guess what's your role?
Well, I'm moving on, obviously. I don't need another managing director. They've got one. Look, the good thing is that the Fortuna team is going to maintain our team in the country, and they've got a very similar ethos in terms of looking after the local community and governments and things like that. So the local team, our in-country team is supported through this transaction and beyond. Look, that's the life of the small junior exploration mining company executive. These transactions happen and they look for another job, but maybe I might take some time and improve my golf. Do
you want to be a geological advisor to Money and Mine? We could use some expert insight or something.
Oh well, maybe. Yes, maybe.
Yeah, it might be for free. That's the problem. So, well, mate, I think this has been a great example of Trav's treatment. So last week we had Simon Lawson on, and Trav hammered him for recapitalising at a 50% discount, and you've been treated extremely favourably for
thank you.
Takeover at 95% premium. So I think we've seen either end of the spectrum.
I love good outcomes for shareholders.
Mate, congratulations. Thanks very much for coming on. Boys, you got anything else for Andrew? Or?
Mate, just congrats for being willing to put yourself out of a job. I find that trait very admirable. Not everyone is willing to do that.
Yeah, well done on a great deal, Andrew.
No worries. Thanks, guys. And
I'd be happy to do it, lads, by the way.
Cheers, Andrew.
Good on you, mate, and all the best with it all.
Thank you.
Cheers,
okay,
mate.
see you.
Righto, cheers, Andrew. Lads, what do we reckon? Now, first, as I said, first pass for what this 95% premium for something that isn't short-term ounces. It is purely just an exploration project, does have a mineral resource, but a 95% premium. What are your thoughts? Why the tactic?
We had to really adjust and reassess to talk positively about something because a bit of a change of tack for Trav.
Well, I don't think I've said the words congratulations on this show yet, but this came out of my mouth and I sort of almost was taken aback.
Trav was such a fan of the Bill Beament one, which went against all his principles of like, that was bad promo, but Trav loved it. So he's like wooed you with his spell.
That's it.
But what do we reckon? 95%. Scaring people off? What's the go?
I think it's a great deal that Andrew's done. If you look at the share price and the deal, and read the announcement, the stock hasn't traded this high. It's not as opportunistic as some of the other acquisitions we've seen across the sector over the past couple of months. So I think it's a good deal. And I mean, it's on a smaller market cap, isn't it? From 40 to roughly 90 or so market cap. But I think he's done a great deal.
Have you ever seen a 95% premium before?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've seen a 400% premium before.
Wow.
It does happen, but it's pretty rare.
You see it a bit less straight up, it's a bit more common in a bidding sort of war where they'll keep egging each other on. But
yeah. It's. I mean, like, so just for reference, right? And I'll read these out. I comped some corporate level transactions of similar stage projects in the last 3 years. B2 Gold's acquisition of Orca was at 128% premium to the last. Fortuna's acquisition of CHZ, which is this deal, 95%. Perseus's acquisition of Orca Gold. And this is of the 85% that they didn't already own. That was done at a premium of 79% to the last close. Perseus' acquisition of Exore was at a 69% premium to last close. So amongst that pool of sort of similar corporate transactions in a similar area in a similar period of time, it's the second highest premium.
Yeah, and like Trav said, this one stacks up well when you compare to other transactions we've seen in the space that had those synergies. They might have had a mill in the area or something along those lines. This one didn't have those synergies, so it stacks up quite well, doesn't it?
Totally, yeah. That EV per ounce metric, it was only the B2 Gold's acquisition of Ocolo and Perseus' acquisition of Exore that were more fully valued on that metric, and they're feeding mills, so you're going to pay more for that because the infrastructure synergies that are there.
Yeah, and I think it's probably worth talking about why Fortuna bid at a 95% premium. Like, I'm keen to hear what you guys think about that. But coming in, you might think, oh, why didn't they just do it at 40, 50% premium?
Well, the deal's not done yet, right? So there's 100 days until completion. It's a scheme, so there's always the risk of an interloper here. So you sort of, I think the one thing that they reference in their announcement is that it's traded, that number is higher than any traded price in the last 12 months. Quite often, shareholders are anchored to the historic price as well. So I haven't looked at the last 12 months trading history, but I imagine it's basically just above their last 12-month high. So that would be one metric that informed it, and it's just got to be high enough to deter an interloper as well. Because if anyone else is looking at the project, if you start getting into a bidding war at these prices, you just start thinking maybe will I look silly for paying too much?
Yeah, and it supports it by Newcrest and Newmont, they were all they were at a premium, but compared to historic levels, they were getting it cheap on historic value. Like there's a lot of examples. Well, obviously St Barbara are low, but as you said, they are a significant premium to their all-time high. Is it a purely a scare tactic that they want it done smooth and they just put a significant premium on hopefully no other bidders, and it's just a very easy process?
Yeah, I think the points you guys just raised, that in reference to the historical pricing and not wanting to get into a bidding war, really summarise it well. I think they're the main two takeaways.
Could it be seen as other companies will be like, well, if they're paying 95% premium off the bat, what aren't we seeing? Should we get involved?
Maybe. I imagine. It looks like, Andrew's explored all funding options for this company, and it's a tough equity environment, right? So for them, the internal equation is: do we, if we need $20 million to complete our PFS, and we're a $40 million market cap at the moment, there's a lot of dilution. It's a high risk of actually being able to do it because equity markets look so tough. Or do you sell it at 90% premium? I'm pretty impressed that he's pulled off this deal in the process of doing so. But imagine in the process of deciding that, I'm sure they put out feelers to other potential interested parties as well. So, I probably would weight the risk of an interloper here as relatively low, but you never know.
How many shares did Andrew have?
Don't know, mate. I did see the directors flag that they would be voting their 6%, or just above 6% interest in favour of it. So, and he's one of those directors, so somewhere less than 6.
Right, there we go. So a feel-good story. Hey, but will it be the last? M&As aren't what they seem these days, so let's hope. As I said, kind of hope for our sake that something curly happens because there's something cool to talk about.